What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We continue to look at some of the different college football playoff scenarios, and in this video, we're going to look at the playoff path for the Texas A&M Aggies. I'm going to tell you exactly what they need to have happen for them to make the college football playoff. If you go back to my preseason predictions, remember, I put Texas A&M in the playoff. I got a lot of criticism for that, but when I looked at it and I looked at their schedule, what I thought could potentially happen is happening. I thought they would lose to Alabama early on, and I thought Alabama would go undefeated. And then I just looked at the rest of the schedule and thought, you know, Texas A&M is probably going to be favored in the rest of these games. They're going to have a chance to be there at the end of the year with just one loss and have a chance to make the college football playoff. Obviously, they have to beat Auburn this weekend. They have to remain with just one loss to have a chance, but there is absolutely a chance that this team will make the college football playoff. Now, in my preseason prediction, that was when the Big Ten and Pac-12 were not playing. So I don't know if I would have put them in there if I knew that the Big Ten was going to play, but I knew they were going to be up there. I knew they would have a chance. You know, worst case scenario, this team loses 2 games. Lose to Alabama and then maybe Auburn on the road. Well, we're going to find out what happens with that game coming up on Saturday. That's going to determine a lot for Texas A&M, and that's the first thing they have to do. They have to win out. They have to take care of business against Auburn. I believe they're going to maybe play Ole Miss as well. So they have to take care of business in these final games. They have to stay with just that one loss. The one thing that does hurt them is the fact that that loss was by like 28 points. I know it's to Alabama, but still, if this team makes it into the playoff, they're probably going to be the number 4 seed. And so they're probably going to play Alabama again. And I know the committee is probably not crazy about setting that matchup up again. But there is a scenario where there's no way you cannot put Texas A&M in that number 4 spot. And that's what we're going to go through in this video. So first of all, have to win out, have to win their final game or 2. I don't know if the Ole Miss game is official, but I know that was talked about. They were going to make that game up. I believe they're going to be playing next Saturday. So they have to win out. Obviously, Auburn is a tough test on Saturday. And Ole Miss is not a bad team either. Ole Miss, an explosive offense. That could be an interesting game as well. So they have to take care of business in those games. And if they do that, then that's going to eliminate 4 teams here. So we're looking at the top 12 teams. You know, BYU is interesting. If they throttle Coastal Carolina and then they get another game against a quality opponent, they'll have an argument. But for right now, I don't think BYU has a chance. They're just too far down. And I don't think the committee is going to view a win over Coastal Carolina as all that impressive. I know they do have Coastal Carolina ranked, but they've really shown that they just don't respect these group of 5 teams. So anyways, if they win out, they're going to stay ahead of Georgia, Iowa State, Oklahoma. Even if one of those teams stays with the 2 losses and wins the Big 12, they're not going to pass A&M. That's just too much ground to make up. Indiana has no chance to pass them. I don't care if they win the Big Ten championship game over Northwestern. That's just not going to be enough. So you've got those 4 teams that are out of it, and you're down to 8 teams. So 8 teams for 4 spots. Some of these teams are going to be playing each other, which may or may not eliminate teams. You know, if Florida beats Alabama, that's not good for A&M, because that means both teams are going to get in the playoff. If Alabama beats Florida, that eliminates Florida. So there are, you know, a lot of things that need to go your way if you're Texas A&M, but not a ton of things. I mean, it's not crazy at all to think that they could pull this off. So you've got those 4 teams out of it. What do you need now? You need Notre Dame and Alabama to win out. You need Notre Dame to beat Clemson, eliminating Clemson, and you need Alabama to beat Florida. That will eliminate the Gators. So if that happens, then you're looking at this. And also that will eliminate Miami, because Miami's only chance, the only path for Miami is for Clemson to get upset by Virginia Tech, Miami sneak into the ACC championship game, and then upset Notre Dame. There is a path for Miami. If they can do that, it's unlikely, obviously, that Clemson loses to Virginia Tech. And I'm not going to do a video on Miami because, I mean, come on, really? Is Clemson really going to lose to Virginia Tech? I don't think anyone is expecting that to happen. I don't think anyone thinks that there's even a 5% chance of that happening. So, yes, Miami does have a path. But if you've been watching these videos, if you've been hoping for a Miami video, you're not going to get it. But I'll tell you right now, that's their path. Clemson, lose to Virginia Tech. Miami, beat Notre Dame in the ACC championship. You're in. It's pretty simple. it's simple. They have an easy path as far as what they would need to happen, but it's going to take a lot because obviously Clemson, again, is a big favorite, and it really doesn't matter where they're ranked. They could be at 5, 6, 8. I mean, it doesn't matter. That's what they have to have happen. So anyways, Miami would be out if Notre Dame wins out, whether or not Clemson beats Virginia Tech or not. That really doesn't matter because in this scenario, Notre Dame would beat Miami or Clemson in the ACC championship. So we would eliminate Clemson and Miami out of the ACC. Also, Florida would be eliminated. Even if they played Alabama really, really close, that's still not going to be enough to pass A&M when A&M has that head-to-head. Although we have seen the committee move teams up for losing games. If there wasn't a head-to-head there, it wouldn't shock me if Florida lost by a field goal and they did pass A&M. But with that head-to-head, I think A&M is safe to stay ahead of Florida, especially if they lose. So, or only if they lose. If they win, Florida will go ahead of A&M. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So now you're down to 5 teams. Alabama's in. Notre Dame is in. Ohio State, we're going to assume, is in. They could miss some games. They may not play in the Big Ten championship. But I'll go ahead and tell you right now, I don't care if it's a 5-0 Ohio State, 6-0 Ohio State, Big Ten champ, not a Big Ten champ. Ohio State will get in over Texas A&M. The committee is not going to put A&M in there when they've already lost to Alabama by 28 points. And they've proven they're not going to penalize teams for not playing as many games. So Ohio State is the only way Ohio State does not get in is obviously if they lose a game, but if they finish undefeated, the only way Ohio State does not get in is if Clemson beats Notre Dame and Florida beats Alabama. That's the only way the Buckeyes are not getting in if they remain unbeaten. If they don't play any more games, I guess there's a chance a team like Cincinnati could pass them, but pretty much that's the only way. So we're going to keep Ohio State in there, Notre Dame's in there, Alabama's in there, and the final spot comes down to Texas A&M and Cincinnati. If Cincinnati is really impressive down the stretch, if they beat Tulsa twice by 30 points and A&M struggles a little bit against Ole Miss and Auburn, there's a chance that Cincinnati could pass Texas A&M. Again, will the committee really want to put A&M in there against Alabama again after they lost big? I know that was early in the year, but I think there's going to be a little hesitation there. And I think that opens the door for Cincinnati to possibly take that number 4 spot. I still believe it would go to Texas A&M, but to be safe, we're going to say Cincinnati needs to lose a game. We need a loss from Cincinnati, just to whoever. It doesn't really matter as long as they lose a game. That is going to guarantee Texas A&M a spot in the college football playoff. May not be necessary. Cincinnati, A&M both went out. I still believe that A&M would get that number 4 spot. I think the committee would go in that direction. They don't like the group of 5 teams. That's been clear. But I personally would, I'd like for my preseason predictions to be as close to accurate as possible. So I'd love to see A&M in there. But I think I'd rather see Cincinnati just as a fan, just to see how they can do and just to see a different matchup. I know A&M has gotten better, but I really still don't think they would have a great chance against Alabama. They might play them tougher than Cincinnati, but let's just see what Cincinnati could do. I'd rather see that. But anyways, A&M probably in regardless, but definitely in if Cincinnati loses a game. And then you've got this right here, Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Texas A&M. We would see Texas A&M against Alabama. It's possible if Alabama barely squeaks by Florida and Notre Dame is just really impressive and beats Clemson by a lot, we could maybe see Notre Dame go to number 1, and then you would not get the Bama A&M rematch. But I think Alabama is a safe number 1 because that one over Florida is going to be big for them to finish off their resume. Plus, they have the win against Georgia. Notre Dame would have the 2 wins versus Clemson. So, there would be an argument there, definitely. And who knows, maybe if the committee really is looking at these matchups, maybe they move A&M up to number 3 or Notre Dame up to number 1. I don't think that's the way they do it. I think they just rank the teams and it comes out how it comes out. They only really set up the matchups for the New Year's Six Bowls. But this is what Texas A&M needs to happen. It's not a lot. Probably the hardest thing for A&M besides winning out is going to be Clemson losing to Notre Dame. I think that's what could ultimately keep them out. I still like Clemson in that game. Notre Dame definitely has a chance. But if Clemson beats Notre Dame, that's going to really make it tough for anyone outside of the top 4 to make it into the college football playoff. So there you go. That's the path for A&M. Love to know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you see another path for A&M? Maybe Ohio State gets upset. Obviously, that would really help A&M's case. Things could happen like that. Or maybe you see a team that could pass A&M that's not even in the top 12, like BYU. I don't think it's going to happen, but you never know. So, again, this is the path for the Aggies, a path that guarantees them a spot in the college football playoff. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.